Hi everybody, Donna Salazar here for Gel Press. Today's video is all about layers. I made this large canvas with multiple layers of old prints in the background that I decoupaged on, and then each of the pieces that are on here also have a lot of layers of paint. So I'll show you how I did everything. I started with prints that were in the colors that I wanted the background to be. I tore them up and laid them kind of in the order on the canvas. So when I started to decoupage, they were already kind of in the spots that I wanted them to be in. And I'm using some Liquitex clear gesso to decoupage them onto the canvas. And I just kept working my way all the way across. And I have like the darker colors on one side and the lighter colors on the other. And this is what it looked like when I was done with the background. Then I used some Liquitex Basics paint and just kind of gave it a whitewash all over. And then I did even more, toning the colors down. And here I'm adding some sparkle to the background. These are some old smooch spritz. And I'm using a baby wipe to kind of blend. That's a lighter color I'm adding. And now a darker color. And they blend with water as well. And I'm adding some of the mixed berries, which is like a light purple color. And it also mixes with the paint that I use to tone the colors down, so it ends up blending the whole background together. So now I'm going to work on the die cuts that I'm going to print on the gel press. And I'm starting with a gold color and some texture. And I have two different sizes of the die cuts. I have like a gajillion of them. For some reason I was going to use them for something. And you can tell they're very old because that's my Crafty Chronicle from way back in the day. So I'm just getting some color. This is the first layer of color that I'm putting on those. And those are the larger ones, so they'll be the background for the smaller die cuts. And now this is another group. So I did a lot of these. I didn't use all of the die cuts that I gel print on. Now I have a lot of extras that I can use for something else. So I just keep trying light colors. And I want to have a lot of different types of colors, but muted for the larger die cuts. And then the die cuts that will be in the front will have more color to them. That's an old Caramel stamp that I designed for them. Now these are the smaller ones, so they're in the more vibrant colors. And they'll get even more vibrant after this. So that's the first layer for those. Always have to use up what's on that plate on the side. And I'm going to add more texture, more paint. And this is first layer again on all these little ones. And that is another Caramel stamp that I designed quite a while ago. And you'll notice that I'm not printing over the entire die cut. I'm using textures that I'm seeing on the plate and putting it in different areas around the edges or across the bottom of all of the different die cuts. So I'm kind of done with this color, so I'm going to just get the whole thing off. Now going back to the first small pieces that I did, I want to add more color. So this is the second layer of color. And now I'm using some Golden Open. This paint stays fluid on your plate forever. So I can use this for quite a while. So this is now the third layer of color on the small ones. And again, some of them I'm just doing around the edges. Some of them I'll get the whole damask image right in the middle. And this is sped up by 4 times. So that paint is staying fluid on the plate for a very, very long time. Now I'm starting another first layer color on the smaller die cuts. But because my plate is dirty, because I've been playing for quite a while, I've got a lot of color in there still. Adding another color. And this is going to go over the other colors I've already done. So some of these are second layer, some of these are third, some of these are fourth. Sometimes I'm printing over the whole die cut, and sometimes I'm using the plate almost like it's an inking tool to get the edges. But it's very fluid and just whatever I feel like doing, so it's really relaxing and fun. It's not precise. And now I'm going to go back to the larger die cuts, and I'm going to tone down some of the color because I don't like the dark edge that's on the paper. So I'm just adding a little bit of color and texture. And there's still a little bit of green around the edge, and so I'm adding some green. And these obviously are getting the entire print, but also used kind of like an ink pad to get the edges. I'm going to add a little bit more gold to the large background die cuts. And this is the last of the printing that I do on the die cuts. I used some of my favorite old stamps and stamped on some of the smaller die cuts, and I adhered them together with designer Dries clear, inked the edges of the larger die cuts, and used a micron pen to give detail around the small die cuts. Then I used a Stabilo All Pencil to outline the smaller die cut and used some water and a paintbrush to blend it so it makes it look like it's a shadow behind the small die cut. Then I used the designer Dries clear adhesive to glue them to the canvas, and used some white paint around the edges to make them stand out from the background. Then I used the All Pencil again around the larger die cut and got my paintbrush with water and blended that, so now the larger die cut looks like it has a shadow. And I wanted the die cut to stand out from the background even more, so I used a Micron pen again to add a very wiggly outline to the larger die cut. And this is what it looks like. Now I'm using some gold brushed metallic luster from DecoArt around the edges. And I got it on there a little bit thick, so I used a baby wipe to kind of pull some of the color up and blend it together. Then after I finished this, I just added on the quote, which says, "You're awesome, true story." Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.